So hey everybody, I'm standing out here in Wyoming in a windstorm. High wind warning, 55 miles an hour gusts. So you'll hear that in the background, and I'll apologize in advance. But I'm starting work on a car that's a 1962 Chevrolet, and it's another project. It may take me a little while, but it's been sitting for somewhere between 25 and 35 years out on the driveway under covers. Now, the climate out here is pretty arid, pretty dry. I mean, I've been out here in the summertime and 90 degrees and have 10-12% humidity. There's times where it gets a little more moisture, but it's nothing like where my home in Michigan is, where the humidity is usually 40, 50, 60%. In any case, the car's been sitting for a long time. It's dry. What I've found so far is that it doesn't have a gas cap, so fuel's been probably evaporating for years and years. It doesn't have a radiator cap, so water or coolant's been evaporating for years and years. And I'm just going to start going over it. I'd like to see if I could make it run. It ran when it was parked. It's just, it's a 62 Chevrolet Biscayne, which is a large car. It's got a 283 in it, a 3-speed column shift. The last time I was here, I was curious whether it was stuck or not. Now, this car doesn't have these engines don't have a bolt on the harmonic balancer. They've only got fan pulley bolts. And because it doesn't have a balancer bolt, it was hard to, I was trying to figure out if I could break it loose. Well, I managed to cart a battery out here and put the battery, connect a battery to it. And I was trying to be kind of ginger with it, but I went in and hit the starter, and I just nicked it 2 or 3 times. And I probably turned the engine a quarter turn or so. And then I could put a wrench on the fan pulley, the lower pulley, and I was able to turn the engine by hand with a 6-inch wrench for a short distance, and then I could tell compression was building up on the next cylinder, and then I couldn't anymore. But at least it isn't frozen solid locked up. And so I'm going to dig through and see what I can find and what it takes to get this thing running. Everything on this car seems to be pretty much intact. It's a little hard with the sunshine, but it's a 2-barrel 283. It's got lots of spider webs and dust on it. And here's the radiator. I was going to check the coolant, but the coolant is certainly lower than the top of the radiator. I tried to squeeze the hose, squeeze this upper hose, and see if there was any coolant up here in the upper hose, and it seems not. When I squeeze the lower hose, it also seems as though I can hear a little bit of something in the radiator. And there's the oil. I mean, it's got color to it, but it, for sitting there for all these years, it doesn't look terribly dirty or sludgy, we'll call it. Let's take off the air cleaner and see what we got in here. Again, it's kind of got the spider webs on it, dirt, but looks like a good old standard Rochester 2-barrel. I'll have to see if I can find a part number on it. Standard distributor back there, good old Delco distributor and coil. The hoses look like they're probably original to the car. I mean, the clamps are the good old-fashioned factory clamps. Now, they could have been taken off and reused, but just interesting that that's the case there. So, that's my first look. I'm going to start digging in and see what else I can learn. So the air filter looks a little dirty. probably works. The housing's got a Fram number on it, 2516-KA19. The filter element itself says Napa 2093. Well, being concerned about coolant, I did find an original, it's like this hose was replaced, has a screw clamp on it, it's a heater hose. So I pulled that just a little and managed to collect a sample of coolant. And I'm going to put it in my refractometer here. And let's see what the freeze point is. Well, it's hard to get a view on this, but the point is that this antifreeze solution is pretty concentrated. It's like all of the water must have, my scale on my refractometer goes to 70%, and it's beyond that. And I went in and recalibrated it with water just to check, and straight water is 32 degrees like it's supposed to be. So either this stuff is no longer ethylene glycol, or it's all the water is evaporated out, and it's like 90% or something from sitting so long. My concern was that whether it was sufficient freeze point to protect the engine sitting out here all these years. Can't tell for sure, but that's the best I know right now. Here's a little better look at the engine. Since the sun has gone around, I got a little better lighting. Looks like it's all pretty intact. The carburetor supposedly should have a tag on the bullet bowl, and I can't find the tag, so that doesn't help me. Just thinking that I may need a carburetor kit, just since it's sitting so long, but we shall see. So at this point, I have all the spark plugs out, and I'll show you some pictures from inside the cylinders wherever they're sitting at the moment. I didn't roll the engine over further, but the plugs in general don't look horrible. They're pretty sooty because it probably ran sitting here in the driveway and didn't get a chance to burn the carbon off. But pretty much there's plugs from the right hand side. Like I say, they're carbon black, but same thing's pretty much true over here on the driver's side. There was a little bit of corrosion on this one. That'd be the third cylinder back. What is that? I think that's 5. The end of the plug has a little corrosion on it. There's a little bit of deposit down there by the electrode. But otherwise, they really don't look too horrible. My view of the cylinders, some of them have a little bit of rust on a light. They're not solidly rusty, but they have some rust on the surface of the cylinders. So here's a look at the cylinders. I'm going to show you what I got with my Dan5tech camera, and it's not the best. These cylinders that are kind of dark, sometimes they don't light up real well, but if you take a look at this one, I started over on the passenger side going down the cylinders front to back, and you can kind of see that the cylinder walls are actually not too bad, but you've got some streaks of corrosion in them. I mean, it would be nice if there wasn't anything there, but it doesn't look, I'll say, heavily crusted. You kind of see the edge at the top of the head there. So here's number 4, the next one. And it's near the top of the cylinder, so you can't really see much. 6 is down more at the bottom again. It's you get more look at the cylinder wall. I can't roll the engine over easily with a wrench, so I just took the cylinders and I'm taking a look at them where they happen to sit at the time. There's number 8. It's a little ways down, but it's another one that's kind of short. We go across to number 1, and again, you've got some spots. There's a little more of a I'll call it a streak of rust on the side. I'm just trying to move the camera around to get the best view that I could. It's a little tricky because you got a camera on it's on a cable that you're trying to sneak around. So I'm hoping if I start to roll this over that rust isn't, I don't want to score the cylinder walls up. I'm hoping the rust comes off fairly easily. And here's number 5, and you can see we're up closer to the top. And sometimes what you'll see up at the top is you'll actually see either the top of the cylinder. In some cases, you'll even see the side of a valve. I think that's a valve at the top of the screen. What I'm going to do before I put the plugs back in is I'm going to give everything a shot of fogging oil to coat the components, coat the pistons and stuff. Okay, so just to recap there, so I'm going to use some fogging oil, and I'm going to put it in each one of the cylinders. And just so that when I do decide to try to roll it over, that everything's had a chance. It's got some lubrication and it doesn't scar things up. Because I'm sort of thinking that some of the corrosion I see in the pictures in the video looks like flash rust. Like it doesn't look deep. And so perhaps even with some good anti-corrosion oil in there, that may dissolve that some and clear it out so that I can roll it over and with minimal damage, I'll call it. So I'm going to do that and put the plugs back in and see how things go from there. Alright, so I have all the spark plugs out. I've put oil with a long hose fogging oil into all the cylinders. I'm not going to try to start it. The plugs are still out. I just want to roll it over. I tried rolling it over with a wrench and I could only go a little ways. Again, I can't get to the balancer bolt because there isn't one. I'm working off of a fan pulley bolt. Well, so anyway, let's see how this goes. Didn't sound like the starter engaged. I guess it did engage. It just sounds different with the plugs out. So I've rolled it over a few times, just a little bit, just to kind of spread the oil around. And now I'm going to go put the plugs back in. I probably won't have time. What I want to do next is get fuel to the fuel pump and try and see if it'll run. But for today, that's about as much as I can get done. Well, let me just see one more thing here. Now that I've spun it, can I turn it with a wrench by hand? Yeah, there it goes. Yeah, I can move it some. It gets to a certain point where it gets a little harder to turn. than you can do with just one of these, what, 6/8" end wrenches. And you know, those fan pulley bolts are only supposed to probably be 20 foot-pounds, and you know, you're just about to the end of what you can do. So that's looking pretty good. I'm going into my ancient freezer. This dude gets pretty cold. I got it turned all the way down, and right now it's sitting at about -15, I guess. Yeah, it's warming up fast, see, because I brought it out into the air. Over the last couple of days, it's been sitting here. I've got it turned all the way down, and I've seen the air temperature's been between -15 and -25. And I've had my sample of antifreeze in there, so it was just sitting at -15. And I know I'm being a little paranoid, but after my Camaro froze up, or somehow in storage, I've looked, and the coldest temperature that in the last 30-some years in Cheyenne has been about -25. And I've been in here when the air temperature at that thermometer sitting next to this bottle was at -25. And it's not slushy. I think the antifreeze is good. My concern was that on my refractometer, it was above 70% concentration. Actually, if you looked at the scale, it's probably beyond 75% concentration. And there is a point at which the antifreeze starts to get thicker, or that the freeze point starts to go back up. And but I don't see any reason why this should have frozen. This looks pretty darn good.